Afternoon all. So funny, just when I decide to record, all these cars start going past. So anyway, I've made progress in the landscaping in the front yard, which is a moon garden. I've just extended the pathway and the sheet mulching. So I've used cardboard underneath where I put plants, but where I've got the actual walkways, I've also got the plastic weed matting underneath after ripping weeds out. Temporarily I've just placed my bucket with the seeded or sprouted at home, the lotus flower seeds, but I think this weekend I'm going to do it. I'm going to actually build a concrete pond. Also, the other water feature, I've just moved the butterfly feeder because I'm actually getting a 3-tiered water fountain, and it takes 7 to 14 days to ship. So I'm hoping it will be here by next week. But I need to get the rest of this grass and weed ripped up anyway. But I had to stop after last night because I ran out of space for the weeds. We've got the garbage and the rubbish collectors on Thursdays, and this bin is chock-a-block of weed, and even this is. And that is just from this section here, so literally nearly the first half of the yard. That's just all from that. Crazy. I've also added some more things to one of the garden beds. How I use the weed matting when it comes to the actual plants is I will lay it all out, but as I plant up, god damn it, got a train going past, sorry. As I let it pass, hang on. Oh god, come on. As I start planting it up, then I actually roll the mat back and I cut it, if that makes sense, because how I do like to approach weeds is once removing them by hand, which is not fun, but there's no point using things like weed killer, and it just adds to the problems we are facing in the environment. Also, it's linked to Alzheimer's. Alzheimer's gets into the air, it spreads. Just keep away from it. So it just means you have to do some hard work, rip it out by hand, and have a bit of a tactical approach over a long term, instead of getting out your what is it called, the weed stuff, the real popular one that people like to get. Anyway, you know the one I'm talking about, Roundup. Yeah, it's the last thing you want to use is anything like that. If you have some persistent weeds in like concrete, I actually like to pour straight vinegar, white vinegar, and that usually gets them. Some people use boiling water, but the vinegar I found is the most successful for those spots. But what I've added here, I do have my snowcloth asylum. I've also got 2 oreganos. I've got your normal. And I also have a variegated oregano. And I have a catmint bush and a bush of catgrass right next to it. I just like the catmint. It's also really good for keeping some pests at bay, and it sort of looks good with the lavender bushels. This poor lavender bush had a really hard time. I had to cut it down. The weeds I had growing from next door just had brought these swarms of whiteflies, and since I've got rid of half the grass and weed at the front, I haven't even seen them now. As soon as I got rid of that, they're just attracted to grass and weeds. So if you get rid of the grass and weeds and have plants instead, and walkways with wood chips and that sort of thing, you're going to literally, 3/4 of the way win your battle with whiteflies. And my wisteria. So if you remember, she was in a box. All I've done is, when the box it's been sitting there for a while, eventually you just rip out the edges of the box, so you're just left with the cardboard on the bottom. So I've just peeled that off and added more mulch and soil just so that she can actually spread her roots. I do need to get some trellises, make some I should say, get some materials for that, but it's on the list, which keeps growing. But yeah, so it's pretty much what I've done so far. And also, I'm usually pretty good with this, but just because I've just had too much on my plate, I tend to put too much on my plate and then get indigestion with things to do, that is. What I was finding is some of my plants were looking a little bit pale. So the jasmine, she looks like heaps better even within a couple of hours. But my white magnolia and even my Boston ivy vine, looking quite pale. She looks even better now, an hour later. Usually that means they need more nitrogen. Nitrogen helps in the process of creating their chlorophyll, which makes them green, dark green. My favourite way to do it is, I don't like buying fertilisers because that also contributes to the issues we're having in the environment and also our health, especially with the water sort of runs off stream and goes into our waterways, etc. One thing I like to do, and I don't drink coffee and I don't drink tea with caffeine in it, that includes green tea, but my plants do. So I use ground coffee, so coffee grounds. I'll grind up the coffee beans and I'll sprinkle it around the plant and then give it a good water. I do make brews, like fertilising brews, natural ones from kitchen produce. The other thing I do too is if they're deficient in potassium, I just add a couple of dried banana skins around a big pot, or just one or half, depending on how deficient they are. And after a while you get pretty good at sussing if they're deficient on anything, because you just get used to it. You can see what they look like, you know what they should look like, and when they look a little bit pale or not quite right, you know what they're deficient in. So it's usually nitrogen, potassium, magnesium they get deficient in. But yeah, ground coffee beans, very simple fix. And yes, you can use instant coffee as well. But there's something about the ground coffee beans I like a bit better, because I don't know if it's the texture. Also, it's a bit stronger as well. With the tea as well, it's got tannin, which helps improve the soil. But yeah, that's it from me today. I've got to teach class tomorrow, so I won't be getting too much done here. Oh, god damn it, it's no noise to do the beeping thing. It's not even near a, what do you call it, when they, it's not even near a station. It just has to beep because it's at the front of me. So I got sidetracked. Oh well, sorry, I lost that train of thought. But yeah, so I've moved where the butterfly feeder is, that's going to be a fountain. I've moved it closer to the edge there, so it's more off-centre. But yeah, I can't wait to actually make the pond. That would be so cool. I will have to get a solar filter as well too, but yeah, there's only so much one can do all at once. The joys of, ow, god damn it, stopped on a stone. Joys of having lots to do at once and starting from pretty much a clean slate with work to do beforehand. But yeah, that's what I was saying. So tomorrow I've got to work, so I won't be able to get stuck into the rest of it, but come Friday, we're a day ahead if anyone's wondering, in the States or in the north. I'm in the southern hemisphere. I would like to, Friday morning before it starts getting hot, we're between spring and summer at the moment. So November the 31st is our summer here. When you guys have your winter solstice, we have our summer solstice. So Friday morning in the wee hours, I would like to get this centre done, and then on Saturday, Sunday get this bit done. I just can't do the rest of it now because I've got to have